Welcome everyone to Dead Talk Live. I am your host Viz, and today we are joined by writer-director Cassie Keet from her new horror comedy Scream Therapy, which is premiering at Dances with Films this coming June 23rd. Cassie, congratulations on Scream Therapy. It is such a fun, full of laughs film that
Thank you so much.
that people are truly going to enjoy. And with that said, let's get right to it. Uh,
Let's do it.
you combine a girls' weekend retreat with, let's see, incels, demons, and a whole bunch of whatnot. How did this crazy concept come to you?
Well, during the pandemic, obviously, we were stuck inside for 2 years, and during that time, I was really climbing the walls, just sort of going crazy. And I was on Twitter way too much, and there was just so much going on, like, everything that happened in Charleston and like Roe v. Wade, where's that going? And
Yeah.
I was just so angry and freaked out and having and stuck inside, and I just wanted to write something for me to just like
Let it
get
all
all
out. Yeah.
out. Exactly. And give me an excuse just to spend time with people again. So we just kidnapped like 20 of our favorite people and just went out to the desert and made a movie. And it was I think like we could not have made this movie if it weren't for the pandemic, because I was able to take off time from my job,
Yeah.
and and we had all just been separate for so long that being able to come together, we filmed this in October of 2021. So it was
Yeah, getting back to human interaction. I mean,
yeah.
it was a relief for a lot of people. Now, the chemistry between the five main characters, Avery, Mary Beth, Nora, Dylan, and Jillian, is dynamic. It sounds like you knew each other beforehand, or did you meet during the casting? Were you guys friends? How did that all work out?
Well, fun fact, I work at an acting studio. I'm the studio manager of Anthony Meindel's Actor Workshop.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've been a student there for years. And so when it came time to cast the film, I was like, well, thank God I know where a lot of really talented actors are. So I just reached out, and that's how we cast Avery, who is Harley Bronwyn,
Mm-hmm.
Jillian Rochelle Anderson, and Mary Beth, that's Jerry Courtney Osteen.
Mm-hmm.
But um, Dylan and Nora are played by Claire Delamar and Mandy Chung. I've been working with them for years. We were in a sketch comedy group together. We've been friends for probably like a decade at this
Wow.
point. So I wrote the roles specifically for them. And they're also co-producers on the film. So we all wore a
Excellent.
lot of hats. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, there are many references throughout the film to Nicolas Cage,
Hell yeah.
a legendary actor, and a lot of other notable quotes from other films like The Dark Knight Rises. Well,
Ooh,
tell us about the Nicolas Cage references because it's not just one glancing reference, it's
it's not.
predominant. Tell us about that.
I have a deep and like very deeply rooted love for Nicolas Cage as a person and as an actor, and just in general. I don't think I've watched every Nicolas Cage movie, but I'm pretty sure I've watched 98%. It's a source of joy and comfort, and I just love him. And I
He's
don't
an
even really.
amazing actor, and
He's amazing. Like, look at Pig, look at Adaptation. Like, he's got the dramatic chops as well as amazing comedy chops. I love Nicolas
and he can
Cage.
do action. He can do anything.
He can do anything. I mean, and he describes his acting method as mega acting, which is my favorite thing in the world. That he just embodies as much feeling as possible. And I mean, no one's doing it like Nicolas Cage.
And he
And
just
so
lets it out when the camera rolls.
exactly. And when I was writing, I think I made one Nicolas Cage reference. And then, a few pages later I was like, oh, I'll just do a callback to this Nicolas Cage joke. And then it became this whole other thing where there's like dramatic monologues about Nicolas Cage. There's like how people say I love you is by saying how much they love Nicolas Cage. And
Exactly.
it became a sort of different language in the film. I don't know why it happened other than I just fucking love Nicolas
It
Cage and
worked. It
yeah.
worked. Now, Skylar Bible plays Zachariah the demon, okay? He did a great job playing a
He's
demon,
amazing.
and a demon that the audience can sympathize with. What were
Mhm.
your goals with Zachariah's character?
Zachariah's character, when I was writing like for the incels and for Zachariah, it was sort of with the idea that you're gonna have a conception of what this person should be like.
Hmm.
And I wanted to be like, okay, but what if, I mean, if we were all judged 100% by a preconceived notion,
Yeah.
then people wouldn't really bother to get to know each other. We wouldn't see each other for like the complex human beings that we are. And so it was really fun to be like, okay, yeah, he's a demon, but like he's a demon who has special interests
And
and
feelings.
feelings, and he
Hmm.
has opinions about how he's treated and about how other people treat him. And it was just fun to sort of lean into, okay, let's take a demon and then let's make you really root for him, even though
Exactly, exactly.
yeah.
And we do find, I found myself rooting for him. Now, while you stay true to the comedy nature of the film, you do touch on some important topics, like relationships. How important was that, let's call it social commentary, was it for you to convey?
Well, I like one of the main things that I really wanted to touch on was female friendships.
Hmm.
And so many, like a lot of movies about women are written by men. And so a lot of representation of female friendship is seen through a lens of how a dude assumes that women
Yeah,
react like
which is
with each
wrong.
other, which is very wrong. And, and I just wanted to show like I in my personal life am incredibly blessed. Like I am lousy with amazing female friendships, and they're like the best part of my life are these strong connections that I have with other women.
Yeah.
And so I wanted that to be a focus in the movie, is just, letting it be about women who love and support each other, and they're very different and they might not always agree,
Hmm.
but they're never gonna stop supporting each other. Even
Exactly.
if, they have to be like, whoa, I'm not gonna do this, but like I love you, but I can't support that.
And that is very well noted towards the beginning with what happens with Avery's character. So
Mhm.
very, very true there. Now, is Scream Therapy supposed to be some kind of parody of some of your past favorite horror films? Or is it meant to be taken just on its own new merits?
I think it's I have grown up watching horror, and I love horror, and I also love the silliness of horror, and I love the tropes that you see over and over again, like let's investigate a noise, let's
Yeah.
split up, and so you're watching it being like, why would you do that? And so I just really enjoyed having the characters, even though actor characters in movie are not supposed to know they're in a horror movie. But when there's like demons and cults and yeah and incels, at some point it's like, yeah, it feels like we're in a horror movie. So maybe
Yeah.
we should treat it like that.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's a little bit of parody, but mostly it's just I think we live in a very self-aware time.
Oh, yeah.
And so, even just us in my like me in my own life, I'll at times feel like, wow, like, is this a Nancy Myers movie? What's happening? or we were able to sort of take a step back and look at our own lives through like a lens or through
Mm-hmm.
a paradigm of the media that we consume. And so people who are aware of horror movies being in a horror movie like situation are probably going to comment on it.
Exactly. Now, like we said earlier, there are references not only to Nicolas Cage. There's a quote from The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, was that just an example of you drawing on some of your inspirations? You know, Dark Knight is Christopher Nolan. He's a great director.
Right.
And just trying to give homage to them or pay a tribute. Was that what that was, or was it just lines in a film that you saw previously that you would have loved to put in your own film?
I it's just going back to the sketch comedy group that I was in. It was called Woman. A lot of the scenes that I wrote had a moment where I would call it the call to reason, where a character would make a very dramatic monologue about something very passionate, even if what they were talking about was like soap on a rope or something incredibly stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I love a good dramatic monologue. I love in The Dark Knight, there's all these beautiful moments of, there's like explosions in the background and the slow pan in and being like, it's not the hero that Gotham deserves.
I love it. I'm
I
with you. Yeah.
I love it. And it's sort of, it's very clear that all the characters in this movie consume media.
Yeah.
They watch movies, and so even without realizing it, if you're Avery, when she does quote The Dark Knight, doesn't realize that she's doing it
Yeah.
because she's having a very dramatic monologue moment.
Uh,
And she's just like, I heard a great quote, and pulls it. She doesn't even know that she is doing what we all do, which is just, filling in these little pop culture moments in our
yeah.
own lives.
And that's a great point. How current pop culture media, the movies that we watch, influence us not only consciously but subconsciously, and it comes out in the
Absolutely.
weirdest moments in our day-to-day lives. Now, a lot of what we see on screen in any film is indicative of what happens behind the screen. And going by what we see on screen, it looked like you guys just had a blast shooting this film. How did you set up that relaxed atmosphere, especially late 2021 with COVID, the lockdown coming to an end, while also staying focused on the job at hand and filming this?
Well, I mean, from the time that we sat down for our first table read, I just told everyone like, "Hey, I cast you for a reason. It's because you understand the tone and you're funny. You're good at what you do. You can do so like I'm trusting you to get it right."
Yeah.
And because we are shooting on a shoestring budget with we had 13 shoot days total for
Wow.
for a 109-page script. I was like, guess what? You get no more than 5 takes. So when I say action, I want you to bring me your ideas. I want you to come. I don't want to see hesitation. I want you to make a choice for every single scene. And if you do that, then it's going to be a party.
Yeah, and don't
And so
second guess yourself.
exactly. So everyone going in, I set the expectations from the get. Was like, I want you to be memorized. I want you to be ready to go, and then we can play. So show up ready to party. And
And it looks like they did.
yeah, they did. I think we only had more than 5 takes, maybe like 3 times in the whole shoot.
Wow.
Everyone was nailing it like take 2, take 3, take 4, and we're like, print, move on. We got it.
Awesome.
And yeah, and that sort of gave everyone this sort of a sense of like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm good at my job. I'm going to do it in 5 or less, and then we're going to move on. And we wrapped early pretty much every single day on set.
Wow. Well, that's
Yeah.
that's the signs of a great director. Out of the 5 women, there really isn't a leader in the group. If there was one, I would probably have to say maybe Avery. What are your thoughts on the
I
group dynamics?
On the group dynamic, I like Avery is our point of reference. So I'd say like she is how the audience gets into the movie. So I'd say she is kind of the leader, but at the same time, she also is very much along for the ride.
Yeah.
It The five of them just sort of have this hive mind. One person will have an idea and be like, I'm going to do that. And everyone will either be like, that's a terrible idea. Let's do it, or they'll say that's a great idea, let's do it. And so I think of the five of them, there's it's a meritocracy,
Yeah.
there's no head of state. It's just an amalgamous five-person entity of love and
There's no intense peer pressure or anything
no.
like that, and that's shown very much when they arrive at the desert. Now let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about Jeremiah. He
Mm-hmm.
is a brainwashed incel cult member
Sure is.
who realizes that everything he has come to believe in his whole life is completely wrong as the
Mm-hmm.
film progresses. Uh, Now, incels are a group primarily founded and propagating on Reddit. What does Jeremiah represent to you?
To me, Jeremiah is so much like Jeremiah is the young men on Reddit
Mm-hmm.
and on YouTube. He was raised with, he grew up in a world where everything that was force fed to him was accepted as truth, and because he had no other reference. And obviously, it's a pretty it's a pretty big leap from like I was raised in a commune by a psychotic incel who tells us to murder women on a full moon.
Mm-hmm. To
And
spread their seed.
exactly, to like go around and just keep growing a community of women hating and murdering monsters. And so it's hard to be like, oh, that's the same as, a guy named Patrick on Reddit. But if Patrick on Reddit is just immersing himself in this propaganda that tells you to hate women and that tells you that men are better, or that the white Christo fascist nation should be in charge, like if that's all you're consuming, then that's what you're going to believe. And
Absolutely.
so with Jeremiah, when I first started writing it, I was like, fuck you, Jeremiah. But it's hard to not have empathy for
Mhm.
someone who has been lied to.
And he really
Yeah,
has no other point of reference. To him, the
exactly.
realizations that come to him throughout the film are just so intense. He has no clue how to survive with any
Mhm.
other information. Now you have a role, Acid Knife. How would you describe your character, Acid Knife?
My character Acid Knife was me sitting in the editing room with our amazing editor Justin, and there was just a shot where we cut to one of our characters is on acid, and we cut to a knife, and I was like, oh, okay, in post we can, we'll have
Yeah,
someone add like a fun effect to it. But because we didn't have the effect at the time, I was like, oh, I'll just throw my voice in there so when people watch it, they know that she's high. But then we laughed so hard at just this dumb little voice going like, Catherine did it, I'm shocked. And we just kept it and we never took it out. And then we added it more places of just my dumb voice being like,
it
didn't.
was
No,
funny. It was so funny.
it made me laugh. I mean,
Yeah,
anything that made me laugh made the cut.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do it. And like I said, when I started this, I read the synopsis, incel demon worshipping, and I'm like, oh boy, this ought to be interesting. But this film is genuinely a fun ride. When it does premiere, guys, you have to check this out. It's written and directed by our guest, Cassie Keet. It's called Screen Therapy. It is premiering at the Dances with Films Festival this coming June 23rd at like 9:15 p.m.
Yeah, this Friday. So if you're in Hollywood, buy a ticket. We'd love to see you out there. Let me know that you watched the podcast and I'll buy you a drink.
Are you nervous about the festival premiere? How are you feeling as the days come close?
As as the days actually get closer, I am less nervous. When we got into the festival, I was like, "Oh, that's the best news." I'm terrified and just absolutely was freaking out. I think just the excitement and like, "Oh shit, we have so much to do." And now it's happening and I just get to take my hands off of it and be
Yeah,
like, "It's not mine anymore. I'm sharing it."
here it is.
It's I just hope that that everybody watching it has as much fun as we had making it. It really was like summer camp in the desert.
I know I certainly did. I want to thank you so much, Cassie, for coming on here and just sharing these thoughts. I want to thank our audience, those who did tune in live, and the majority of you who will be watching this later on. Again, the movie's called Scream Therapy. Keep your eye out for it. I want to thank our guest, Cassie Keet. Thank you to our audience.
Thank you
Stay
so much for having me. It was
absolutely.
great to be here,
These 20 minutes just flew by. Thank you, everybody.
Biz.
On behalf of Cassie and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Bye, everybody.